Hey guys, it's BeGood here. Welcome back to part 2 of the ROTMG Exalt guide. Today we will be touching base on the missions that we discussed in the last video, as well as touching base on the realms, all the enemies in the realms, or at least the enemies that we'll be facing in the next couple of videos, and some of the dungeons that we're going to be running to get ourselves to level 20. That will ultimately be the goal of today's video, is getting ourselves to level 20, as well as a few small things in between there. So as we discussed, one of the main reasons that we're going along with a seasonal character is because seasonal characters have missions. Missions allow your seasonal character to complete certain tasks to obtain unique rewards and base XP that are available for the current season. Regular characters cannot participate in missions. Unless specified, missions can be completed only once per account. Some missions are repeatable and can be done once every 18 hours. And so this is what a general mission tree will look like. And then because we are in season 8, every mission tree kind of changes up per season. So again, I mentioned that we are currently in season 8. This is what the mission tree for season 8 is looking like. And this is just a general list of the names, the descriptions, objectives, and what their rewards are. This will also let you know which ones are and are not repeatable. Again, most of them are not going to be repeatable, but a few of them are, such as the Endless Pursuit. And we also have Feed the Champions, Potent Tonics, Talk of the Tavern, and Verdant Revelry, Swift Trials, and Shatter's Glass Crusade. So again, as mentioned, every season will restart the mission tree and we'll have kind of the same thing going on as far as what the rewards will be. There will obviously be season theme rewards mixed in there and everything. Sometimes you will only get base XP, sometimes you will get base XP and rewards. As mentioned, one of the things that's going to help us out the most with this is upgrading all of our equipment. So as you go along, you'll see that there's a reward for beginner weapon, ability, armor, and ring, and then it progresses on to intermediate, and then advanced, and then eventually expert. So when we load in, if we want to see what our missions are, we can go over here, and this little flag is going to show us what our current missions are, and then we can go into our entire mission tree and take a look at everything. So when we did the tutorial, if you guys are following along the same way I'm doing with a brand new account, you should have at least completed this one mission, kill 50 enemies, and this gives you an XP booster. So we are going to come in here and claim that, and then go into our vault, and we will find it in our gift chest. And this is going to help us out tremendously with getting to level 20, as it gives us 2 times all XP gained until level 20 or death. So we are going to go ahead and start working our way towards the realm, but before we head into that, we are going to first discuss what the realm consists of and how to best go about whenever entering the realm, getting to level 20. So if we want to get real technical, every realm is a large island consisting of multiple biomes of varying difficulty. Currently, there are 13 maps in circulation for all of the realms. They look like this. Knowing the layout of these 13 maps can help you to know where your godlands will be on the map. If you are curious as to which map is assigned to the realm that you have just logged into, you can use what is called the racetrack method, which consists of running around on the first road you find and finding which of these it matches up with. And so what we'll do is we'll be able to run around on, like I said, that first road, and then once we trace it all the way around the map, we can take that image and compare it to these, and then we'll be able to say, alright, so clearly we are on map number blank. So next we're going to go over the different areas of the realm and the enemies that can be found in them. So the different areas of the realm are as follows: shoreline, lowlands, midlands, highlands, and the mountains. The mountains can commonly be referred to as the godlands or the glands. So the first area we're going to dig into is the shoreline. In this area, enemies pose minimal threat, and technically there are two terrains on the shoreline, a coastline, an ocean, and the beach. There are several enemies found on the shore, sand, and the shore plains. This includes the pirates, scorpion queen and poison scorpions, snakes, gelatinous cubes, and the bandits and their bandit leaders. Again, the shoreline is where you spawn in, and as mentioned before, all of these enemies pose very minimal threats to you. It's going to be very easy to run through these enemies and go and collect HP and NP pots before heading on to the higher lands. The next area of land we will cover is the lowlands. In this area, the enemies are still easy but more numerous. It is in the lowlands that you will find the road to trace around the map for your racetrack method. You'll know the lowlands from the midlands by the red-capped mushrooms, and they look like this. And so the terrain consists of the low plains, the low forest, and the low desert. The four different sections of the plains and forest are differentiated by the shades, as pictured here. And so the lowland plains consist of these enemies: the hobbits, the sumo masters, the little sumos, and the undead hobbits. The lowland forest consists of elf wizards and archers, goblins, the bunnies, and forest nymphs. And finally, in the low sands, we have the sandsman, king, the archers and sorcerers, giant crabs, and sand devils. All of them look like this, and these are all their stats and everything. And again, all of these enemies in the lowlands are going to be easy to handle, but more voluminous, so do be a little more cautious when going in there, but know that ultimately none of these enemies are going to be able to kill you at the end of the day, unless you go in with absolutely no equipment and are level 1. Next, we move on to the midlands. Here the enemies are a little more erratic. This will be a good area to practice your dodging without too much worry about heavy shots. You will know when you're in the midlands when you stop seeing those mushrooms and start seeing these little groups of white flowers. The deserts here are the same as the lowland deserts except for the enemies. And there are 3 terrains in the midlands, so again it's the plains, the forest, and the sands. On the mid-plains you're going to find orc knights and queens, wasps, bees, satellites, and paper golems, as well as sprites, sludges, slime blobs, swarms, and the infamous candy gnome, which I'll give a little bit about the candy gnome here and let you read real quick. Moving on to the mid-forest, we'll have the dwarves, the drakes, werelions, tigers, leopards, and panthers, red spiders, golems and satellites, and black bats. In the mid-sands, we have desert werewolves, tawny and demon wargs, fire golems, more satellites, darkness golems, sand phantoms, the great lizard, and nomadic shamans. And again, the area of the midlands doesn't pose too much of a threat to you, but just know that these enemies are going to be a little more heavy hitting, and the risk of death is a little more guaranteed if you're not quite at level 20 yet and don't have as decent loot or equipment as you should. So just be a little bit cautious when going up against these enemies, and always remember you have that Nexus button, and screen rotation is really going to help you when dodging shots. After the midlands, we have the highlands. In the highlands, the enemies are less erratic but more heavy hitting. Here, death is much more certain after a couple of hits, so you want to be very careful. On occasion, you will run into some gods that trail in from the godlands to the highlands. The most common one that you're going to see is probably the Leviathan, which this thing can insta-pop you, so be careful. And apart from the change in enemies, you will notice the presence of carnivorous trees. And this is what they look like. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation of that, but the highland deserts will also have prickly pear cacti instead of the columnar cacti. And again, there are 4 terrains here in the highlands: the forest plains, the forest plains, and then the desert. So the enemies found in each one of these. In the high plains, we're going to find the undead dwarf god and the mini dwarves, orcs, urgles, trap elements, and hunter centaurs. In the high forest, we'll find the lizard god and night elves. We'll find the ogres, dragon eggs and dragons, dark elves. And then in the high sands, we're going to find the flare gods with the flares, the flamers, and the minotaurs. Finally, the last big enemy of the highlands is going to be a quest enemy, which is the beer god. The beer god is found via a stationary red dot on your map. If you surround it with 2 more players, it will cause the beer god to spawn in. During Christmas, the beer god is reskinned, however, with the Mad Santa skin, and it looks like this. And so now, finally, we come to the infamous mountains, or as it is commonly referred to by the players and the community, the Godlands. The Godlands are the most difficult area in the realm. Travel here always at your caution, whether you are level 20 with no stats maxed or an 8-8 with 15k fame and full exaltations. It does not matter, you can always die in the Godlands. Death happens here all the time. So the Godlands or the Glands have 2 types of terrains, the Rocky Mountains and the Snowy Mountains. You will also find lava fissures running through the mountains. In these lava fissures, you will find a small chest, and sometimes you can find some pretty decent loot in there if you're looking for upgrades. But if you're going in there with a full 8-8, you probably don't need anything in there. And so the enemies found here are as follows. We have the white demons, Medusas, and gods, beholders, flying brains, slime gods, ghost gods, djinns, leviathans, sprite gods, rock, wood, and steel constructs, headless horsemen, sting spiders, gray owls, corsair crabs, ground dragonflies, and then the lucky versions of all of those first enemies, the white demons, the Medusa, and God Beholder, Flying Brain, Slime, Ghost God, djinns, leviathans, and sprite gods. You'll have lucky versions of all of those that are gold, and all of those will always drop the dungeon that they have a chance to drop as regular monsters. In the glands, you will also find the mysterious crystal, which when broken releases the crystal prisoner. However, it takes a fair amount of people clustered together to crack the crystal, so always be aware of that when you find one and call it out. Now, to handle the Godlands, you always want to make sure that you have a good stack of equipment on you, as well as your inventory slots filled up with HP and MP pots like we discussed earlier, and as well as putting some of those HP and MP pots in your inventory or backpack if you have one. To get quick HP and MP pots, a good strategy is to go ahead and visit your guild hall and type pots in the chat. And this is what happens when you do it. As you can see, you type pots and then the guy just tosses one right up on at you, and you break that chest and it gives you 8 HP and 8 MP pots. You wait roughly about 30 seconds and you can go ahead and ask him for more pots again. If you ask him for pots again right away, he's going to tell you, hey, I can't do that, or I'm not made of these, little stuff like that. Another thing that is important to do, but not necessarily required when going to the glands, is it's a good idea to have a pet with the heal ability, because this will help you to seriously regen some of that HP much quicker than what your vitality is going to do. So when you're first going into the glands, you want to go at it slow, taking it kind of one god at a time. If you come up on a group of gods, a good strategy to get them to separate is to approach all of them and then slowly back up kind of 3 or 4 tiles at a time, and they should start to break off one at a time until you've got one god left. And you can just repeat this strategy when finding clusters, and if not, then just take one god at a time, chip away at its health, practice your screen rotation and dodging, and with a little bit of luck, some of these gods will eventually start dropping stat pots, and you will be able to max yourself out a little bit quicker. When you're killing gods in the Godland, and you're using that strategy of kind of pulling them away from each other, always stay aware of which area you are backing up towards. If you have your screen rotated, you may find yourself eventually backing up towards more gods, and this could kill you. The last bit of advice for the glands is to know your enemies. Learning which enemies give which negative stat effects will help you kind of to navigate your way through the glands more, and especially learning the shot patterns will really help you to navigate your way, dodge, and know which enemies are going to hit you with which shots. And so guys, with all of that, we are going to bring it on back to the beach and focus on getting to level 20. For this, again, we're going to just stay on the shoreline and focus on these enemies. We're going to try and kill the ones that are going to drop us the pirate cave. The ones that drop the pirate caves are the pirates, giant crabs, goblin warriors, cubes, and sand devils. So we will kind of just run around killing these until we get some pirate caves. And the whole goal of the pirate cave is to really get some good experience with screen rotating and dodging, but to also go ahead and start upgrading our loot and equipment. Because in there we'll find some very low level tier equipment, but hey, at this point anything's going to help us get started. And so real quick before we start running the realm and trying to hit those pirate caves, we are going to visit this up here real quick for the seasonal rewards. If you have the Exalted pass, as you can see, you're going to get a lot more, but we do not. So we have actually gone ahead and achieved the level 1, I guess you'd call it, and gotten a backpack. So we're going to claim that, go into our vault, and pick that up. And this is going to help us out exponentially. We're going to be able to hold a lot more pots and loot. So let's go ahead and head on in there. Come on now. And find some pirate caves. So as we load into our realm, we are going to first stop and take a look at what we are working with. So we're at tier 1 for our staff and our robe, tier 0 for our ability and our ring, and we currently have a defense ring. So we're going to try and get HP ring as mentioned. Whoa. As you can see, standing still on the beach can be a little bit dangerous. So we're going to turn our auto fire on and start the hunt for some pirate caves. And there we have one right there. So again, guys, keep in mind as a brand new player without a pet, it does take your health a little bit longer to regenerate. And so when we come in here, we're just going to work on our screen rotation, taking out each enemy. We're not going to worry about picking up any loot until we have cleared out the enemies from that room. So immediately we're getting an upgrade on our spell and staff and robe. So we know that we can get up to tier 3 on some of these. So let's rotate and orient ourselves back forward. And remember what I was talking about, how when we're going into these rooms, if we're getting kind of bum rushed like that, let's go back out and just keep on shooting at the enemy. I'm going back over the loot I dropped. Alright, another tier 1. Spell bombs will help out a lot in here because these are low defense enemies. So we're just going to keep on running through. Another tier 2 staff. We won't really start picking up and collecting loot until later on, especially once we start getting untiered items. But for the time being, we will just keep. Alright, so another attack ring. For the time being, we'll just keep what we have on us and leave everything else on the ground. Remember, we're going to hit spell bombs. I'm forgetting about that. More spell bombs. And again, just taking it really slowly in here, working on your screen rotation and your dodging, and spell bombing especially, because I'm actually forgetting to do that. Okay, so this may be the best of loot that we can get from here, and that may set us up for the next video and getting ourselves to level 20 with the other dungeons. And keep in mind the XP that you see that I'm getting, I do have an XP booster on. The XP booster will last until probably, I think it said 30 minutes or something, maybe an hour. But we're coming up on the boss room. He's always sitting in a big pirate cave, or pirate ship. The first thing you want to do is clear out this first little section. So we'll just throw some spell bombs around and screen rotate. We're going to orient ourselves so that we're ready to walk in there. Always rotate yourself around this flag because sometimes enemies will be hidden behind there. And so let's go in there straight and immediately go ahead and start pulling off some of his minions. as best as we can, and if we can't get them off, then let's go ahead and start spell bombing. And so we reached level 5, and I believe certain classes at level 5, every single one of them unlock another class. So it looks like we just unlocked the priest class. And so again, screen rotating, and see how he disappears behind that mast, so you want to keep an eye on that. Screen rotation, spell bombs, screen rotation, spell bombs. He's now in his phase 2. As you can see, large cannonballs are shooting out, and he is shooting more stuff. So screen rotation and spell bombs. And wow, we actually got pretty lucky. So we got a pet egg. That probably won't happen to you guys, but we don't need any of that. So let's go ahead and get to Nexus, and let's see what that pet egg is going to hatch us. I was not expecting to get a pet until probably next video. Alrighty. So we are at a level 1 pet yard. We can check in with our caretaker, and you can see all we have is a common yard. No pets in here. And over here is the wardrobe with all of the skins available for pets. And we have not hatched a single one, so it's empty. So let's hatch our first pet. To do that, you can either press the number it's in or double click. And we got a green frog. Now the moment of truth. Does he heal? Oh, alright, so he attacks. That's better than nothing. And we won't end up keeping this pet because, as you can see, he only does attack far, rising fury, and decoy. We want at least heal, if not both heal and magic heal. So we'll go ahead and run one more pirate cave and take ourselves up to at least level 10 maybe. And again, we're just sticking to the shoreline where the beach is. We're going to work on these guys. We'll find the pirates, we'll find the cubes, maybe a big crab or something. But just running along this shoreline, taking out cubes, spell bombs. And none of these enemies at this point are going to drop anything that we need. And also, as you're leveling up, you will have kind of quest enemies to go and take care of. We're not going to run these in this video yet, but if you feel comfortable enough going ahead and heading on out there, you are more than welcome to. Alrighty, so we'll finish off with this pirate cave. And so there are different graded dungeons, not just caves, and the different grades will come with different boosters up and down. The best one, in my opinion, to look for when looking for HP pots at a low level is Spider Swarm, but that can get you in a little bit of trouble as the enemies do explode into swarms of spiders. And so again, going into each room very slowly, letting the enemies come to us and chase us away so we can drag them off. Remembering to spell bomb. And so this ship can be a little bit tricky, so we'll set our mouse into where we can see the enemies and just spell bomb them until we're out of mana. And then we'll repeat again. And you'll see why we're wanting a pet with mana healing as well, because our mana, we really chip away at it. Okay, so we're going to finish clearing these guys, and it looks like we just got ourselves a tier 3 staff. Alright, tier 1 robe, tier 1, tier 2. So that's good. I think that's the highest we're going to be able to go. I can't quite remember if the armors go up to tier 3 or not. I don't believe they do here. So we're going to go ahead and focus on getting ourselves to that boss room now that we've got pretty much the best we can get from here. And again, we're coming up to the pirate ship. We're just going to clear out the first section and all the enemies there. Screen rotating, making sure that we get everybody hiding behind that ship mast. Just more screen rotation. Just a little look at the loot real quick. And nothing that we need. And so already enemies are kind of pulling themselves off towards us. We'll keep that going, pulling them out. Spell bomb. spell bomb, more rotating and spell bombing. And if ever in a pickle, just back on out. But we should be okay. And as you can see, he's not going to follow you. And so he's going into that phase too. When he goes invulnerable like that, he's switching phases. And so spell bombs, spell bombs. And let's see what we got. Oh wow, another pet egg. I was not expecting to get this many pet eggs from this first and second pirate cave, really. Alright, we're not going to worry about marks yet. Later on we will, and we'll talk about that. But for now, let's Nexus, and let's try hatching this egg again, and hopefully we will be fortunate enough to get something with either healing or magic healing. So number 3. Alright, so we got a raccoon. Come on. Alright, magic heal. We'll take it. We'll take it. And we are going to hang on to this guy. We can use him later on for fusing. And so, if you come into the wardrobe, as you can see, the ones that we've hatched, we have unlocked the skins for them. So we have one in the aquatic family, and then I believe we had a raccoon in the... Where's he at? Oh, in the woodland family. Alrighty, guys. And so, since we were lucky enough to get a mana healing pet, we are going to actually go ahead and continue running. We also have that double XP booster. And even though when we log off, it is going to disable itself timer-wise. We do want to kind of go ahead and get ourselves to level 20 because we're going to get there a lot quicker. So after getting the loot that we needed, we're going to go ahead and head off from the shoreline into the lowlands. And we'll start seeing these elves and everything. And oop, that loot disappeared. Loot bags will disappear after a while. So spell bombing and rotating, we will focus on our quests, but we won't go too far into the lands. What we're going to be looking for right now are the woodland labyrinths. And my apologies, we are actually going to be looking for the forest maze, guys. So the forest maze is dropped by the forest nymphs, the goblin mages, elves, hobbit mages, sandman kings, dwarf kings, baby drakes, and enraged bunnies. The whole point of running this was going to be to get pet eggs. However, we did pick some up in the pirate caves. We will still look for those pet eggs. We do need a heal ability above all, and MP heal will be just a secondary. And so we're going to run this until we hit level 20. And again, we are going to be looking for better loot along the way. So if you did not get any egg inside of the pirate cave, then this will be your opportunity to look for a little more eggs and everything. If you feel safer running the pirate caves until you hit level 20, go ahead and stay in the pirate caves and keep farming those. Just know that you're going to hit a wall when it comes to your loot. You're not really going to get anything better. Alright, this is a speed ring. We'll go ahead and grab it. And then these guys want to be careful with sitting on them. It can be a little detrimental to your health. And so right now we're at level 7, about to be level 8. The good thing about these enemies is they cluster up. And we're going to skip that because we don't need it. And we'll just keep on coming down this way. Work our way towards that quest of the Horned Drake. And make sure to pay attention to the enemies as you're walking over them. So we got a forest maze right there. So let's go ahead and pop in here. And so real quick, let's go over the forest maze, the enemies in here, the status effects, and the boss. So the forest maze is a very low level dungeon designed for the weaker level characters. The enemies and the boss in here, again, still have low health, but they are just a little bit more threatening than what you will find in the pirate cave. They do have some negative status effects and everything, so you do have to be careful about that. Some of them being quiet, silenced, confused, stunned. The entrance is dropped by the forest nymphs, the goblin mages, elf wizards, hobbit mages, undead hobbit mages, the sandsmen, the dwarf kings, the drake babies, and the enraged bunnies. And so, as implied, the layout of this is going to be a lot like a maze. You're wandering through the forest trying to get to the boss. It's really not too difficult. There will be several times when you think you're heading into the boss room and you hit a dead end and you've got to go all the way around. But again, the enemies in here aren't too difficult. There are a few in here who do cause negative status effects. The biggest one that you're going to have to worry about being low level is the one caused by the mini Mega Mammoth. These things do cause confused. It's only for 1.4 seconds, so thankfully not too long, but again, as a new level character, this can be a little bit dangerous if you're not quite sure of what your confused controls are. You have the armored squirrel, which is relatively, harmless. And then we've got the forest goblin mage. This guy causes silenced for 2 seconds. Um, Keep in mind again that your silenced is not the same as quieted. Whenever you get quieted, you lose all of your current MP. Whenever you get silenced, you just lose the ability to or the ability to use your ability. So really not that bad. The final boss in here is going to be Mama Mega Mammoth. And so Mama Mega Mammoth has a base HP of 750, and this does have HP scaling. And so the shots that she shoots out that you have to worry about are her confused and her stun shots. Those shots look like this. You won't really see the stun shots until she goes into the phase 2, or actually until she goes into phase 3. So you do want to be careful whenever she's going into phase 3. You want to basically put a lot of distance between yourself and the boss, because once she goes into that phase 3, she goes from sitting in the middle of the room to basically chasing you down. And if you get hit by those confused, it's going to make it very difficult. This is a dungeon that you want to remember. If you are struggling with those confused controls, just Nexus. It is not worth it to go ahead and die this early on in the game. Again, this is going to be one of the dungeons between this and the pirate cave that we're using to try and get ourselves to level 20, as well as getting better loot. So this is a overview of all of the loot that we can get here. So as you can see, we're going to get tier 3 through 5 weapons, as well as armor. Looks like tier 6 armor as well. Only tier 1 and tier 2 abilities. We've got her mark, the speed sprouts, tier 2 rings. This is where we'll look for our HP ring and hopefully find one. Tier 3 as well. This was going to be the dungeon that we were going to run for common eggs, but we found some inside of the pirate cave, so we'll probably switch back and forth between the two. These don't really apply to our class, but they are important whenever you're running the archer class for early UT items, the bramble bow and the cocoon quiver. And then of course she drops a pet skin, the sapling buddy pet skin. And so with all of that in mind, let's get this running. Remember, we're just going to utilize the strategy of pulling enemies apart one by one and letting them come to us, and more screen rotation. It can be a little tricky with this wall right here. You see how I'm kind of like half concealed? And if I rotate myself, it's a little more. Enemies can do the same thing. So we will be looking for tier 3 armor in here for ourselves. And again, we're just going to go ahead and kind of take it room by room, enemy by enemy, and clear it out to get that base XP and get ourselves to level 20. Wisdom ring, yeah, we'll grab one. It's not really going to have any effect on us right now, but we'll grab it. And so again, just coming through here, being careful of the larger guys. Spell bombing. Some more spell bombs, and we're finding a lot of breastplates, but we're not finding any robes yet. So we will keep on hunting. And so we're heading into the boss room. So again, Mama Mega Mammoth has got some minions that we're going to try and take out with our spell bombs. We don't want to get quieted or anything. Or confused. I believe she will hit us with some confusion. So again, focusing on the minions. She will follow us and keep on spawning, as you can see. So kill him as quick as possible, turn to her, and start hitting him. And again, if we get into any 911 situations, remember the room that you came from and back out. Go back in here. She's vulnerable or invulnerable right now, so let's kill her minions with some spell bombs. Got one on that far side. And it's dead. And so we're stunned right now. A good idea is to go ahead and get on out of the room until we're unstunned. She is going to be a little more aggressive right now and follow us room to room. So if you need to, run.
Run.
And keep on spell bombing. And so we've killed her. We're at level 11. And so as you can see, we got that UT bow. We are going to keep this. We're going to keep that. And we got a tier 2 attack ring. So let's go ahead and change that out. We're going to keep our defense ring on for now. And there we go. So we got a tier 4 staff. But nothing else that we can use right now. That's alright. So let's go ahead and get on out of here. And so this is really where patience comes in, is just getting to level 20. It's going to take you a minute, and that's okay. A slow process to level 20, but like I said, we're getting there. So we're going to rotate around the boss on the edge of the room like this, and just work on screen rotating, staying trained on him, finishing that last minion. Remember, after we kill this, he is going to come at us. So alright, we've been stunned. Alright, now we're confused. So we want to remember those confused controls. And remember, if you get into a 911 situation, always Nexus. If you find yourself kind of going all over the room and heading right into the boss, just hit that Nexus button. And so right now we're filling up. And so what we're going to do, thankfully there's nothing there that we need. We are going to go ahead and drop this ring. We're going to keep the speed ring. Actually, there's nothing right now that we need speed for. So we'll drop that and we'll hang on to these two. And we'll keep some of these, but we will drop 1, 2, 3 of them. And again, we're going to hang on to the bramble bow. Peek at it until we hit level 20. So we got some enemies right off the bat. We'll back up, let them come to us. And again, guys, I'm not really going to get too much into this dungeon. We'll save it for the next video, but just going to rotate. We don't really need to focus on those guys. They're not giving us XP. Big groups of enemies. Again, focus on the middle and start spell bombing. As you can see, these guys have a little bit higher defense. I will say the one good thing, hopefully we'll get it in here, is the god does drop a UT robe and a UT staff. Actually, I believe he drops a whole set from here for the necromancer, but we could use the ring, staff, and robe. We especially want the staff, but if I'm not mistaken, the staff will give us just a little bit more range than what we're currently using. We are almost to level 20. Just a few more enemies. And we're there. And so, something that I want you guys to keep in mind, we did just use an XP booster. This would have taken twice as long. And we would have only been at level 10 or 11 maybe at this point, if we were not using an XP booster. That's why it was good to do a seasonal character for our missions and everything. As you can see, we've gone ahead and knocked out a couple more of them. And we won't get into what the new ones are yet at this video, but when we start the next video and start working on maxing out our stats, we will go over what they are and kind of work on completing some of those so that we can go ahead and get some of those rewards. Because again, the more rewards you unlock, the more it's going to boost you along on your Battlestone passes and everything. Or your milestones on the battle pass or whatever it is. I don't know, there's a few things going on right now. You know, for seasonal characters as well as non-seasonal, reward-wise and everything. It's been a busy month this October. It certainly took them a long time to get the damn Halloween update out, but they finally did. I don't know why we had Biff the Bunny during Halloween. Real quick, guys, while you're running this, be careful. He's going to be real spazzy, and these totems are going to drop enemies, so we'll just be real careful, kind of killing the ones that are near us and not getting too close to him. While he's invulnerable, we want to take out those minions. He's vulnerable, so let's go back to him. His shots are pretty easy to dodge. When it gets like this, don't panic. You want to find a safe spot and hold still. Then when he starts walking towards us like that, we're going to work our way back towards the outer edge of the room and back out if you need to. As you can see, it's pretty easy to cheese him, just hitting him with spell bombs and holding him on the edge of the room as he won't follow us into the next room. And so we got pollen powder. Does have a party effect, so we'll go ahead and take that. And then that would have been nice for a robe, but it's chainmail, so finish off the enemies in here. And guys, that is going to be where this video ends. As you can see, we've achieved the level 20 that we want. We don't quite yet have the pet that we want for a heal ability. This can take some time, so we'll be patient with this. Hopefully in the next video, along the way of maxing out our couple of stats, we'll be able to get a pet egg with the proper abilities. But for the time being, stay safe out there while running the realm. You should be at level 20, and if you're not, be patient. If you're getting more comfortable with your gear and your, not screen rotation, but your keys in general, go ahead and start running some higher level dungeons. You know, you can run the Forbidden Jungle. If you want to start diving into the Hive, you know, you're more than welcome to take a look on the Realmite page, get some information from there, and go ahead and start working on maxing out your decks and the Snake Pit for your speed. That'll be the main topic for the next video, though. We'll get into the Hive and the Snake Pit and go ahead and working on getting ourselves to it. Thank you for watching, guys, and if you have any questions, comment it below, and remember, keep an eye out for me in US East and US South.